Greetings TVR2A, this is your instructor, and this is going to be a lab walkthrough of Pro Tools Edit number 1, also known as the glitch. And technically we call this Pro Tools Lab number 4. I've already clicked on the assignment inside of Canvas, and this is where I'm at here. First thing you'll want to do is go ahead and download the instructions. You can download it with this link right here. These instructions are going to kind of be in tandem with what I'll be walking you through with as well. Sometimes it's helpful to go ahead and print these out. Looks something like this. It's going to show you the finished product right here. These are all the mistakes with the little bracketed numbers where there's either some dead space or the person doing the voiceover made some mistakes that have to be edited out. And then there's also a hidden error, which is the glitch, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you can scroll down, you can see everything that we'll be going through. There's about 13 or 12 steps here that you can walk yourself through. All right, I like to go ahead and drag this off of screen so that I can go ahead and just be looking at Pro Tools while I'm working. And remember, you're not going to click on Start Assignment until you've actually finished everything, so that's at the very end. There's also going to be a set of 6 questions here down towards the bottom that you'll answer as a comment, and you'll include that with your submission of your bounced MP3 file. So I have my instructions here. I have them so that I can read them and I can follow. I can go along with the video. And now the next step is to go ahead and download the actual audio file. Now remember, just for reasons of Canvas, I have to make this a zip file first. So what you're going to do is download it with the downloader button here. It's going to go into your downloads folder. And then what I do is I double click on that zip file. So it's Pro Tools Edit 1.aif.zip. Double click, that will then unzip it. And now I have the AIF file right here. And what I like to do is go ahead and drag that or place that into my project folder, which remember we did this back on that first week. And I'll just place it in here so that I know where it's at. So this is just my general project folder for the class. I'll just lay it in there. Now I see that it's right here, so I can get back to it. Okay, so that's the file, by the way, that you'll be bringing into Pro Tools. All right, so we are now ready to launch Pro Tools. So let's go ahead and launch Pro Tools. Remember, that's the purple icon. It says Pro Tools, looks like a sound wave. And this is on the Mac, so this is the Mac walkthrough video. All right, so here on our kind of startup wizard, make sure we're clicking on New. This one we're going to go ahead and give it the name Pro Tools Edit 1 with your initials. So, oops, make sure I'm up here. Pro Tools Edit 1 and your initials. Okay, it's going to go prompt for location. That's good. It's a WAV file. It's 44.1. It's 16-bit. And last used, I usually go ahead and click on stereo mix right here. That just helps reset your system. I'm going to keep mine on last used because I have a special setting for this particular project. And then click Create, which is lower right-hand corner. I know you can't see it because of the window. Okay, it asks me immediately where I'm going to place it. Now, this is where it's going to go into the projects folder again. So I have my G. Dunbar Projects TVR2A folder. That's the one that I want this session to go into. I don't want to click inside of my folder. So make sure that you can clearly see that you know exactly where this is going. You don't accidentally want to open up an additional folder, and you definitely don't want to put it into Pro Tools folder. All right, so it's going right into here, and I'll click Save. Now it's going to go ahead and launch Pro Tools. Notice it does automatically give me a click track. I'm going to right-click on the name Click, and I'm going to choose Delete because I do not need a click track. That is just done by default. Everything else pretty much is ready to go. Now remember, you have some shortcuts. You have the Command equals, which will bring you to the mixer window. But in general, you should be good to go. Now you might want to double check that your playback engine hasn't accidentally changed from before. Now remember, mine is this aggregate device. You should have created your own aggregate device. You just got to make sure you're always using that one whenever you use Pro Tools. All right, so now my next step is to go ahead and import that audio into this Pro Tools session. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to my File menu, and I'm going to choose Import. I'm going to choose Import Audio, and now I'm going to go find that AIF file that I unzipped from the very first step. Now remember, it's going to be in the Documents, it's in my Project folder, and I remember I had put it in here, and there it is right there. Pro Tools Edit 1.aif. That's what I want. I don't want anything else. I don't want a folder. I don't want any of these waves or anything. So that is the file that we unzipped in that very first step. So it's a single click. And then down here, you're going to click on the word copy. And then when you click on copy, you'll see it moves that file from the left to the right. Now you're ready to click open. Once you click open, it's going to ask you again, where do you want to place it? And at this screen, you just click open a second time. Now it's going to ask me, where do you want to place it? I'm going to go ahead and let Pro Tools create the track for me. So I'll click OK. It's going to create a brand new track. And there it is. Now a few things about this before we get into any editing aspects. You'll notice that there is just one squiggly line. This is a WAV file. And because there's just one, we know that that must be mono. And since it's coming from one microphone, it's a voiceover artist, that would make sense that it's a mono audio track. The session we did before actually showed up as two. Remember, there was two squiggly lines here, and that showed that that was a stereo audio track because that was music. So this is just one mic, so it's mono. I went ahead and enlarged it a little bit by getting the double-headed arrow here, which is my resize tool. You can also click in here and choose some preset sizes like medium or whatever. It's just right here. But I like to just drag so I can have exactly what I want. Since this is the only thing we're working with in the session, I can, it can take up most of my screen. Also, I like to zoom in a little bit. You can see my timeline here. It says 20, 30, 40, so I'm looking at every 10 seconds. Now I'm going to use the shortcut letter T. I'm going to use it again. And I'm going to use it one more time. And now I'm looking at seconds go by at the top. That's usually a good place to start. Again, if your shortcut did not work, make sure you have this little AZ activated. You know it's activated if it looks orangish color. If it's gray, then it's been deactivated. Just single click on it and it'll turn on your shortcuts again. Okay, so the first thing is to go ahead and check and see if I can hear and go ahead and listen to this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit return key to go to the beginning and then hit the space bar to play.
When editing audio material, the object is to correct mistakes, including mispronounced words, coughs, extra phrases, papers rustling as a page of copy is turned over, or any other unwanted sound.
All right, so I can hear it, and I know that it's playing. I can see that it's going into the video, and now I'm ready to start to find these mistakes and fix them. Now remember, a few things just to get you started is you want to go ahead and use the Smart tool, which is all three of those tools together. That's the trimmer, selector, and the grabber tool. Make sure you're in slip mode here on the left-hand side. For now, I'm going to go ahead and jump back and forth between slip mode and shuffle mode, and you can see the differences. But in essence, we have our audio. I know that there's some mistakes, and I'm going to go ahead and start editing right now. So you'll notice in step 4 it says you can use Zoomer and the scroll bar, and you can do all sorts of zooms. You have the plus minus in the lower right hand corner. You have the Zoomer tool, which is that magnifying glass that you can click with if you like. I usually don't do that one. I prefer letter R, zoom out, and letter T to zoom in. So that's usually what I'm doing. But I do notice, even when I'm just looking at the file, that I have a flat line right here, which appears to be just silent. And we call that dead space, and I don't want any dead space in this project. So I'm going to show you a quick edit. I'm just going to highlight with the selector tool. And selector tool is part of the smart tool. So I just click and drag to the left, and then I can hit the delete key. And notice it just deleted that section. Now I have to use the grabber tool, which is the hand. I have to go over here. Remember, the grabber only activates when you're towards the bottom of that clip. Click and drag to the left. And now I can go ahead and listen.
When editing audio material.
Good. So you want to listen to it and make sure you don't hear, like you didn't cut it too close. You didn't cut some of the W sound, the what. And if you cut out too much, you just need to bring it back. Now, if you made a bad edit, you can always do Command Z. And then you can come back here and do Command Z again. And now you can actually do a new edit if you need. Okay? Now, I did that with a highlight, which is a selector tool. I also could have done it with a trimmer tool. The trimmer tool goes active when you go to the left of the clip. And notice I can now click and drag, and it just made that cut as well. That's the trim tool. I would still have to slide it over with the grabber. Now I'm doing some more Command Z's because I'm now going to show you what happens if I do this edit using shuffle mode, upper left hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the trimmer tool. The trimmer tool pops up when you go to the left edge or the right edge of a clip. Looks like a sideways bracket. And you need to be towards the middle. If you go to the top, it turns into a fade tool. We don't want that. So it's a click, it's a drag. But now watch what happens when I release the mouse. You see what happened? It just pulled it over to the left automatically. And that's shuffle mode. So shuffle mode always has to be in contact or connected to something that's before it or something that's after it. So if I'm in shuffle mode, notice, and I get the grabber, I'm trying to drag it over to the right and it's not moving. See, it's not moving, but if I was in slip mode and I click and drag it, you see I can freely move it. So I call slip mode, I call that freehand. And shuffle means it has to be connected to a clip either in front or behind it. So it has to physically touch it. You cannot move it freely. So you'll find uses for shuffle when you're making an edit like this because it does save you a few clicks. But there's also plenty of times where you'll want to be using slip mode so that you can do exactly what you want. All right, so that's our first mistake, which was bracket number 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump to bracket number 2. And bracket number 2 is when it says many times an announcer can be made to sound better. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then I'll stop it when we get to that section.
When editing audio material, the object is to correct mistakes, including mispronounced words, coughs, extra phrases, papers rustling as a page of copy is turned over, or any other unwanted sounds.
Good.
Many times an announcer can be made to sound better than he or she really is. This is accomplished by careful editing.
So that's our problem right in here. Again, you can see we have another line of silence. So some more dead space. So she took too long of a break. You can hear her breath, but then you have this awkward pause. So we'll need to go ahead and get rid of this section too. Now, this is also a good time where you can experiment with that shuffle mode, because now I'm going to go ahead and draw a selection. Again, I'm in Smart Tool because I have all 3 tools highlighted, but I'm going to go ahead and make that selection like this. I'm going to let go, and now I want to hit the delete key. Watch what happens. You see it brings it right back to the edge of that clip. It has to touch it. Even if I try to move it with the grabber, notice it doesn't move. So let's go ahead and play into it and see what happens.
He really is. This is accomplished by...
I think that's a little bit better. Now, if I decided I wanted to get even closer on that edit, I might do a couple letter T's and maybe even cut this down just a little bit more. And even cut this part down a little bit more. And then play it.
He or she really is. This is accomplished.
All right, I like that. And I like leaving the breath so it sounds natural. So notice I didn't chop the breath out. So now I have my second edit. And again, I'm using shuffle mode. And I'm just making little tiny changes with that trim tool, which is part of the Smart tool. Now, in step 5, I did say you can use the scrubber to help find beginning and end points that need to be chopped out. I'll show you the scrubber, although you might find it not helpful. But let's go ahead and click on it. It's the one that looks like a little speaker in the top here. It's right next to the grabber. Now when you turn it into scrubber, now when I click inside of this clip, I can now move my mouse front or back, and you'll notice that it's only playing the audio that's right underneath the cursor. We call that a scrub tool because it allows you to fine tune where you want to make that cut. And it's based on the speed of your mouse. If you go fast,
Or she really
or if you go slow. Anyway, you can have a little fun with that if you want. But that's the scrubber tool. It just helps you fine tune your edit. If you find that you can't quite dial in the exact precise location of what you're trying to chop out. Okay? I use that very rarely, so I'm going to go ahead and get back into my Smart tool. All right, let's go ahead and find out where our next edit's going to be. It looks like it's going to be here where she says digital editing for audio purposes is accomplished. So she must have made some wrong lines in there. Let's go ahead and play on here.
is accomplished by careful editing. Editing can also be done to shorten up.
Oops, got to fix my scrolling. I noticed my cursor went off the page and then my page didn't change, and that's because my scroll mode has not been set up. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Options menu. I'm going to click Edit Window Scrolling, and I want to check mark where it says the word Page.
Is accomplished by careful editing. Editing can also be done to shorten a program to a prescribed length. Digital editing for audio purposes is
There's a mistake in there, right?
for audio purposes.
All right, so she actually says for auto perp, and then she stops, and then she says for audio purposes. So I need to get rid of the mistake, which is here. I'm going to go all the way up to the beginning, which is right about there. And I'm going to remain in shuffle mode, because remember, when I hit delete key, what's going to happen? It shuffles right to the left.
Digital editing for audio purposes.
All right, and that sounds actually like a really nice edit to me.
Digital editing for audio.
Notice whenever I make an edit, I'll always want to back up a few seconds, and I'm clicking with my cursor in the, well, I guess we would call that the selector tool, but I'm really just clicking it so I can get the cursor there. Be careful, because if you go too low, you'll get the grabber, and if you click there, then it's going to play from the very beginning of that clip. I don't want that. So I go towards the top, single click. So always back up and listen before you move on, because remember, once you've made this edit, if you go and make an edit downstream and then decide, oh, you want to fix something you've already done, it'll adjust and it'll leave gaps from edits that you've made downstream. So be careful of this. So I'm going to go ahead and let it keep playing.
Digital editing for audio purposes is accomplished with a computerized application and work.
So there's a weird random sound effect. Did you hear it sound like a whistle and like a spring and stuff? That's rando.
Is accomplished with a computerized application.
It looks like it starts right about here. Now this one, because it's so long, I'm going to go ahead and do letter B. This is letter B, shortcut. And what that is a break. And it will make a break right where the cursor's flashing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that at the beginning here, and then I'm going to find the second one.
And workstation.
All right, so
And
right about here, and then I'm going to do letter B again. So that's letter B for break. Now you'll see that I have my own little clip, and that's the random sound effect. And I clicked with the grabber. I'm still in shuffle mode. And I can just hit delete key. Again, it grabs clip from the right and it pushes it all the way to the left so that it meets the end of the other clip. And then I back up and give it a listen.
computerized application and workstation. Be sure you understand the digital audio application you're using. It is easier to avoid a mistake than to correct one.
Nice. I like that edit, which is why I let it keep moving on. And then at the very end, notice I have a big section. How many is that? 3 or 4 seconds of dead space. And that's an easy edit with the trimmer. Go to the right edge so that it turns into the sideways bracket, and click and drag to the left. and then make sure I don't hear it pop out.
Then to correct one.
All right. Now, since I've done some work, I want to save where I'm at. I do Command letter S. And now I would go ahead and give the whole thing a solid listen.
When editing audio material, the object is to correct mistakes, including mispronounced words, coughs, extra phrases, papers rustling as a page of copy is turned over, or any other unwanted sounds. Many times an announcer can be made to sound better than he or she really is. This is accomplished by careful editing. Editing can also be done to shorten a program to a prescribed length. Digital editing for audio purposes is accomplished with a computerized application and workstation. Be sure you understand the digital audio application you're using. It is easier to avoid a mistake than to correct one.
All right. I'm happy. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I can't really hear any of my edits, so that's solid. But before, when I think I'm all finished, I keep reading through my instructions, and I will see something that says, Step 11, save, Command S. And now the challenging part. Remember, I call this example, or this edit exercise, the glitch. That's happened over the years, because there is some little staticky, I don't know if you heard it while we were listening, but there's a staticky, glitchy sound. It's very fast. It's only like a half second, and it kind of goes. It's very, very fast, and it happens while she's speaking, and I wonder if there's a way we can locate it. So what you're going to do is I would go ahead and pause the video and play your session a few times and see if you can dial in where that's at. All right, part of this assignment is you needing to be very kind of conscious of what you're hearing. You're doing active listening. So you're trying to really hone in on the quality of this audio. Okay, so I will go ahead and pause, see if you can locate it, and then once you've located it, we'll go ahead and experiment and see if we can't get any of that fixed. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. All right, so hopefully you have located it. I ended up finding it, and you should have found it too. Right about in this area, you'll see it's about 34 seconds in. And it's when she says the word "be sure." So I'm going to back up and just listen.
Workstation. Be sure you understand. Be sure you.
It's right in this bit right here. So it's like 34 and a quarter. So something in here.
B.
You hear when she says "B," you also hear this little high-pitched kind of scratchy sound. But it happens right when she says the word "B." All right, and so how are you going to fix this? So this is where it takes a lot of time. And again, I'll give you the ideas for different tools you can use, but then you're going to want to spend time and just try to fix it. And then when I come back, I'll go ahead and talk you through a little bit more. But in essence, you're going to want to zoom in a few times, letter T. You're going to want to really try to hone in and focus in where that glitch is. If when I really zoom in, I can actually see kind of like this, looks like a stair-steppy, like a saw almost. I don't want to go too far in though. But I can see that it's in there, but it's impossible to extract it without also removing B. So I would first try to find it and then try to chop it out. Now, there's also other techniques you could use besides that edit in the past. You could also try to locate, maybe she says this word in another context. Like maybe, does she say the word "be" anywhere else? Let's check the script. She says, let's check it. Many times an announcer can be made to sound better. So there's a "be" there. I think there's also editing can also be done. So editing can also be done. So there's actually two other instances where she says the word "be." So if you could go and try to track down another, "be," just for fun, I'll go ahead and do that. It doesn't always sound great, but let's see if we can find where she says that first. Many times an answer can be made to sound better than he or she really is. Let's see if we can locate it here.
Mispronounced words, coughs, extra phrases, papers rustling as a page of copy is turned over, or any other unwanted sounds. Many times an announcer can be made to
She says be here.
can be made to
It's not a very solid B. She kind of goes through it pretty fast. Let's check the other B where it says editing can also be done to shorten a program to prescribed length.
sound better than he really is. This is accomplished by careful editing. Editing can also be done to
That one actually sounds a little stronger. Can also be done. Feels like it's right in here. So she says be here as well. So it looks like it's this whole, and then she says done. Yeah, so we don't want the word done, but that's all of the B right there. Now that's it. Let's go ahead and experiment and see if we can really make that work. So what I've done is I've drawn the highlight. Okay, so I've selected it. Now I'm not going to delete it or anything, obviously, because I want to keep it, but I am going to copy it, which is Command C. This is the Mac keyboard, of course. Command C, just like Microsoft Word, right? So I just copy it. And now I go find where I want to paste it. Okay, where did we decide that sound was? It was like 34-ish. I think it's right in here.
be sure.
It's right here. This is B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and highlight the whole B that she said, like this. And I'm going to go ahead and do a delete. See, it's flashing. And without doing anything else, I'm going to paste, which is Command V. And I'm doing that still in shuffle mode, so I don't throw off any of the timing or anything.
Be sure you understand.
Interesting. That's a little better than the scratchy one, isn't it?
Be sure.
Now, it does sound kind of weird at the beginning, so I'm going to do a little tiny, I call this untrim, right? So I'm going to untrim it. Means I can click on this section, which is to the right, and I can actually bring it back. Look, I can drag to the left, and it's actually going to bring back other part of that file. So the other part of the file is still there.
Be sure you.
It's pretty close, isn't it?
Be sure you.
It does sound kind of artificial, like kind of like out of context, but at least it doesn't have the glitch.
Be sure you.
And then for the sh part, that can also be fine too. I'm going to do letter T again here.
Be sure.
And I can bring that back as well. And again, I can just go to the edge and I can start to untrim it like this. And when I untrim, because I'm in shuffle, it's just going to slide it over.
Be sure you.
That made it worse. So Command Z.
Sure you. Sure you.
So maybe it's too much like this.
Be sure you under. Be sure you.
It's closer. Let's bring it back even a little more of the E. Let's see if there's any more there.
Be sure you. Be sure you understand.
All right. So that's one way, right? It sounds kind of weird. It sounds sort of like Max Headroom from the, 80s. But that is a way to sort of fix a file if you find you have a ruined part of a word and there's no way for you to fix that word. Now what I'm going to do, because that's one way to fix it, obviously, and you could go ahead and bounce and move on. But I'm going to even try to cut it out. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just doing Command Z a few times. I'm getting back to where I was.
Be sure.
All right.
Be sure.
So I'm back to where I was, and now I'm going to zoom in and just try to cut out the part that has the glitch in it,
Be sure.
which it feels like is about this much. And this is a time you could grab that scrubber, by the way. Feels like it's right in here. So what if I just tried that? And I just chopped it out. Right? Because it has the glitch. And then listen.
Be sure.
Well, then the problem is I've lost the buh. right? So just trying to chop it out, it doesn't work.
Be sure. Be sure.
So undo, Command Z,
Be sure.
and maybe even try to get closer.
Be sure. Be sure.
What if the but is good and some of this is the static in here?
Be sure. Be sure.
I still hear it, right? Command Z. So let's try that. How about this? How about let's make a cut where we think it might be. I'm going to zoom in even more here.
Be. 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 Be.
There's nothing in here. That sounds good, but it's there. There's a lot in here. So even if I was to try to get rid of some of the E, right? So I could try this. Delete.
Be sure. Be sure.
It gets rid of some of the glitch, but also now you get rid of some of the E sound. So what I tend to do, at least as an experiment, is I'll go ahead and find where I think it is, and I'll go ahead and break it. That's letter B. And I could even do like maybe a little chop, so I could kind of chop some out, but not all of it. And then I'll even use this little fader, which is at the very top upper edge.
Be sure. Be sure.
And see what I think. Again, this is all just kind of experimental. And I'm even going to grab and slide this over a little bit like this. I'm doing letter R.
Be sure.
That's a little better.
Be sure you. Be sure you.
So that actually helped it right there, didn't it? And so all I did, I'm going to zoom in so you can see, is I went to the end of the word B, which is E, long E. I highlighted it. I did B, so I broke it so it's its own little section. And then I use a fader tool, which is upper right-hand corner or upper left-hand corner. It turns into a box. And then I can click and drag to the left, and that will do a fade. So what happens is, because I separated, I can now put a fade just on the E sound, so I'm trying to fade it out as it's glitching, so the glitch isn't as apparent. And I could even kind of fine-tune that fade if I click right in the middle of the fade. And I can change the slope. That's kind of fun too. So I would say go ahead and experiment. See how close you can get to removing it. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the final step, which is to create the bounce.
Be sure you understand.
All right, so I'm happy with this. And now I'm ready to go to last step, which is to bounce this as an interleaved MP3. So step 12, bounce mix. All right, so I'm going to zoom out with letter R. And I'll do it enough so that I can see the whole thing right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to the top right at the edge, which is about 41.5. And I'm going to click with the selector, but I'm just in the time ruler. I'm going to click and drag all the way to the left to 0. And in essence, I've just highlighted the whole clip. Okay, so I've selected it. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the bounce, which is under File menu. I'm going to go to where it says Bounce Mix. And you're going to give this a name. I'm going to go ahead and shorten it down. So it says PT Edit 1, say glitch, and then I'm going to put my initials like this. So you can do that as well. PT Edit 1, glitch, GD. And a file type needs to be MP3. So if it says anything else, like if it said WAV, just click and change MP3. The mix source is going to be whatever your main outputs are. So for me, it's my headphones. You shouldn't have to change that. It should already be there. The file format may have to be changed. If it says multiple mono, go ahead and click and drop it down to interleave. The bit depth you cannot fix. Sample rate 44.1. Session folder, it will automatically go into a bounce files folder, which is fine. And then I'll click offline lower left hand corner, and that's for a very fast bounce. Click bounce. It's going to ask me to give it a MP3 name, like if I was going to play this in an MP3 player. I don't care about that, so I just click OK second time. You'll see it bounced and it's finished. Now you can go ahead and save it with the Command S. And now you can quit Pro Tools with the Command Q. All right, you're now ready to go find that file. Now you remember where it is. For me, it's in the documents. It's in my G. Dunbar projects. And then the name of the session we just worked on was called Pro Tools Edit 1. So I'm going to single click here. And inside of that session folder, I now have a Bounce Files folder. And there's that MP3 right there. Now, I always encourage you to audition it first, so I'd single click and just play it.
Material, the object.
Okay. I can hear it in my headphones, so it's in good shape, but I would listen to the whole thing before I submit it. So what you want to do is remember where that's at, because you're going to have to find it in a second. All right, so remember how you got there, because you will need to get there again. I'm going to drag this away over here. I'll put it down here. And then at the very bottom, you'll see that there is a set of questions. It says, what's shuffle mode? How's it different from slip? What's the most challenging? Where's the bounce file stored when you do the bounce? I just gave you that answer there. Why should you back up your sessions to a flash drive? Okay, so hopefully you have some sort of secondary device on your system. And that's just for backing, just for archiving, right? So you don't want to do all this work on your laptop, and then your laptop crashes, you have to reformat, now you've lost all your work. So in general, it's good to back up your work onto a thumb drive or flash drive. And then number 6, did you find the glitch? Where was it? Give the time, location, and then what did you do to try to fix it? So you're going to answer all those as a comment, okay? So you're ready to finish up. Go ahead and click Start Assignment. All right, so remember, Start Assignment always puts me all the way to the bottom. I need to drag this up a little bit. And it says, choose a file to upload. Or you can just drag it. So I'm actually just going to drag it from my, you can see I have it here. What I'm going to do is just drag it and drop it right here. All right, so once it dropped, you see it's here. And now you see this little box that says comments. And you can enlarge it if you want. And that's where you're going to answer all those questions. Now, a lot of times students like to just do this. They copy it, and then you paste it. And then you can go ahead and just, type in your answer. You don't have to do it this way. I don't need to see the questions, but that might help you. Once you have everything answered and you see you have the file, that's when you finally click Submit Assignment. And when you click Submit Assignment, you should see success, you'll see some confetti, and it'll tell you that it's been submitted. All right, submitted. Okay, there you go. That is your walkthrough video. Do make sure that you check the MP3 before you actually upload it, and make sure that you have the correct one attached, and then answer those questions. All right, if you have any sorts of questions, feel free to leave a message there in Canvas. Otherwise, good luck and have fun.